why you keep sabotaging yourself. So today we will talk about this from a psychological point of view. We will try to be technical so you can understand. But first of all, I want to tell you something. This channel is about manifestation. What I teach here is how to manifest the right way so you can change your life. So if you're sabotaging yourself, that means you're not building the things you want to build. So what you want to do is manifest. Because manifestation is creating manifestation is creating the effects you want. Effects can be money, friends, a relationship, training in the gym and getting the body you want, whatever. That's an effect. So what manifestation says is, what manifestation says is basically that if you want a certain effect, you have to create the cause in some way. But from a manifestation point of view, you are the cause of the effects you want. So if you want a business, you want a certain kind of friends or a relationship, or you want to, meditate, whatever, you want to get a skill, whatever effect you want, you have to become the cause first. So if you don't have the effects you want, stop trying, because that's why you are sabotaging yourself. Because you are being yourself, and yourself is not the cause of the effects you want. So what does that mean? That means that yourself has to go, and you have to create a new self. A new self that will be the cause of the effects you want. So what you want to do is create you want to create a new self, a new personality, let's say. So yourself has to go, and you have to create a new self. That new self will be the cause of the effects you want, hopefully. If you do this properly, you will get the effects you want. But how do you let yourself go and create a new self? Well, first of all, now we are jumping into psychology. So first of all, you have to understand that you are a consciousness. That's who you are. You are just a consciousness. It's not who you are, it's what you are. You are a consciousness. You are. It's that simple, you are. You can feel the sensation of consciousness. I am. That's what you can feel from your point of view. So you have a consciousness, right? A consciousness that is so you are a consciousness, right? And this consciousness is generated by your brain. So your brain is generating your consciousness. Your brain is like a hardware, it's like a machine. And that hardware runs a software. So your brain is able to generate the consciousness that you are. You are that consciousness. This is kind of complex. So, but don't worry. So basically what your brain also does is accomplish missions, biological missions. You are a consciousness, but you live in a human body. And in order to survive and exist, you need to accomplish certain goals that your human body gave you, that are stored in your brain. Those biological missions are survival and reproduction. Your brain is trying to survive and reproduce, even trying to survive and reproduce. So your brain has like the conscious mind and you have like the unconscious mind, right? This conscious mind is who you are, and the unconscious mind is the automatic systems that are run in the background, like in the not physically in the background of your brain, but in the background as like a secondary process that is not being conscious but is being run automatically. So the unconscious mind is difficult to define, and I'm not here to bring a discovery of science, but we can say in this video that the unconscious mind is just a set of automatic systems. For example, your reward system. Every time you get a dopamine hit, you're not consciously releasing dopamine. It's just an automatic system that is being run in the background. So that's like your unconscious mind. Also, what we will talk about in this video is your prediction system. Now let's talk about this. Okay. So let's make it simple. You have a brain, and your brain lives in the world, and the world is complex. You are conditioned by a human body and a human brain that has biological missions, and those are reproduction and survival. So the world is complex. You have to survive, you have to eat, you have to get the food, you have to reproduce, you have to stay healthy, you have to socialize. Those activities require a lot amount of energy. And energy in the body is finite. So you have to administrate that energy in the smartest way possible. Now the thing is that nowadays we are like evolution humans, but along the process of evolution, the humans that survived were the ones that administrated this energy in a super smart way. And that way was basically making processes automatic. Because if you have to think about everything you want to do, that would require enormous amounts of energy. And you would go to sleep probably like 3 hours after waking up. Because if you had to think how to wake up, how to wash your hands, how to brush your teeth, like from scratch, you don't even know, you don't have info about the world, then you would spend like enormous amount of enormous amounts of energy just to brush your teeth. So that's why we have automatic systems. And we will talk about one system today, and that is what I call the prediction system. So basically, your brain lives in the world and has many things that consume lots of amounts of energy. So what the brain does is automate processes. How? In this case, in this specific system, your brain basically creates what I call an operational framework. What is an operational framework? An operational framework is basically a set of data and information. It's data and info, okay? So what's this? Basically data here means memories. Everything you experienced, like lots of things that you experienced, your brain stored those experiences as memories. And from those memories, the brain took conclusions. So if you, for example, if you're undisciplined, Suppose you are undisciplined, and for many years of your life you acted in an undisciplined way, and every time you try to study or build a business or go to the gym or whatever, you fail, and you skipped the training or you skipped the session of focus, and you scrolled for like hours, and then you just did nothing for many times along your life. Well, your brain stored those experiences and took conclusions, and your brain said, okay, I am undisciplined, I don't do the things, I just skip every session and scroll for hours, and I don't know. You understand what I said? So an operational framework is a set of data and info that you use to design actions and interact with the environment. And this set of data and info can be divided into two big groups. Those groups are key in this video. Here is the key of the video: your identity and your environment. So basically, your operational framework is a set of data and info. And this group of data and info can be divided into two big groups: your identity and your environment. So, your identity is basically who you think you are, okay? It's who you think you are. It's all the info you got about yourself, all the memories you got about yourself, and all the conclusions. That's information that you have about yourself. That's who you think you are. It's not who you are. You're a consciousness. But you created an identity that people call personality, and you use this info to design the future behavior that you will have. And you are designing the behavior you're having right now based on this info. So if you think you're undisciplined and you have evidence, data, and info that tells you that you're undisciplined, you will probably stay like an undisciplined person for many years of your life, and you will never build something valuable, because every time you have to get to work and stay focused for like a couple of hours, you don't do it. And you will not do it because you believe you're not that kind of person. So why would you act that way if you're not that kind of person, right? This is just an example. I know, maybe you are extremely disciplined, and that's great. This is just an example, okay? And the info you have about your environment is basically the info you have about your environment, what you think your environment is like. So if you think money is scarce, that's info about your environment. If you think money is difficult to make, that's info about your environment. And that's just a belief. You just believe that. It's not real or fake. Money is not abundance or scarce. Money just exists. I mean, who says it's abundant or scarce? But what you believe about money will define your behavior. So be careful. If you believe money is scarce, your brain will stop scanning the environment to look for opportunities to make money. Because why? Why would the brain spend energy scanning the environment for looking for a business opportunity if money is scarce and difficult to make? There's no chance the brain does that, because it's nonsense. I mean, who would spend energy on a project that will fail? It's nonsense. And when it's time to work for like 4 hours on that business for the first time, maybe you don't do it because you think it's going to fail. If you find like an opportunity, like one, well, maybe you think it will fail because you think that money is scarce. But if you think money is abundant, your brain will be scanning for opportunities everywhere. And when you find that opportunity, you will work really hard because you know it's possible. If it matches your identity, of course, because if you think you are disciplined, the beliefs about your environment will be good. But if you think you are disciplined, you will fail because you will be acting as an undisciplined person. So you have to be careful about this too. And basically how this works is the brain uses this set of data and information to build a prediction. Your brain predicts all the time. Predict events. And basing on those predictions, the brain designs actions and then execute them. So the brain thinks that this system makes actions more likely to create success and this is true. I mean, even if you think you are undisciplined, those chances of success are real from the point of view of the brain. Because being undisciplined is just something you learned. Being unworthy, feeling unworthy is just something you learned. Being shy is just something you learned. It's the way you learned to react to your environment along your life. Because, especially when you're a kid, but even when you grew and when you got older, people are not usually aware of their unconscious systems. So the unconscious systems are always running in the background, and it doesn't matter if you're a kid or you are an old man or an old lady. It just matters that you're not aware of your unconscious mind, that is your automatic systems. So if you grew along your life being undisciplined, that's just something your brain learned. For example, you try to work for 4 hours, but your brain says, okay, this is the first time you're going to work. So your brain says, let's scroll on Instagram for like 5 minutes. Only 5 minutes, like, okay. So you take your phone and you scroll for 5 minutes. But that scrolling gives you a dopamine hit. And the brain understands dopamine hits. And dopamine, like dopamine spikes and dopamine dips. That's the language of the brain if we simplify how the brain learns as a kid. So what I mean by this is your brain basically, when you are a kid and when you grow up and you don't make this system conscious, your brain only learns by understanding dopamine hits and dopamine dips. So if you take your phone and you scroll on Instagram for like 5 minutes, you will get a dopamine hit because Instagram is optimized for dopamine hits in the human brain. So then you turn your phone off, hopefully, and you say, okay, let's work. But working gives you a lower amount of dopamine in your brain. So your brain says, okay, the first action gave us more reward. So let's just keep doing the first action, that is scrolling on Instagram. So that's what your brain learned. So according to a dopamine hit, this system is being extremely successful. Because if the goal is dopamine, the action is giving you immediate dopamine. So what you want to do is retrain your brain to get delayed rewards and get used to getting dopamine in a long period goal, not immediate dopamine. But that's another subconscious system. What I want to say is this system, although it seems like a failure, because if you believe you are undisciplined and you don't make it conscious, so you change it, you will be undisciplined your whole life. Even though that happens, that is true, this system is successful. But what you want to do is change this system. How? Basically, you have to be aware of the data and info, your identity and your environment, and the predictions your brain made. Awareness. If you want to succeed, you will have to be aware. It's like Carl Jung said, make the unconscious conscious or it will direct your life. So, make it conscious. Make it simple. Just be aware. Now, it sounds simple. It's simple, but it takes effort. So, you want to be aware of what? Of the data and info in your brain, of your identity and your environment, that is who you think you are and what you think about your environment, and the predictions that pop up in your brain. So if you are trying to do something, like you're trying to socialize and you are shy, or you are trying to build a business but you are undisciplined, or you believe you are not smart, maybe you believe you are not the kind of person that build a business, or you are trying to train in a gym and get muscles, or meditating, or you are an artist and you want to paint. Okay, so every time you face a situation, a challenge like painting or building in the business, like focusing for 4 hours, or I'm not talking about dreaming, because that's pretty easy. Like every time we dream, we imagine the best case scenario. But I am talking about facing a specific situation in which you have to actually take action and like make something like in the short term. So if you want to paint, you want to focus for 4 hours on your business, you want to study for 4 hours, you want to go to the gym for 2 hours or whatever, then your brain will build a prediction. And that prediction will tell you who you think you are and what you think your environment is like. So if you're trying to build a business, but your brain is trying to predict failure, maybe you believe money is scarce, competitors are difficult to beat, and you are unworthy and not smart. So you have to change them. If you are trying to paint, but you believe you are not the kind of person that paints good, no, you're not the kind of person that sells art in the right way. You believe that you are not the kind of person that actually sustain consistency for enough time, or you believe that other artists are extremely difficult to beat or whatever, well, become aware of that and understand that a person who believes that will never be the cause of the effects you want. So it's this simple. You have to understand that your brain is like a computer. You have the hardware and the software. If you run a different software in the same hardware, the components, the electronic components will do the maths calculations just like that. But it's the software that changes the results. And then in the screen, you see a different thing. So if you change the hardware, the software of your brain, you will change. I mean, you are changing, of course, because you are changing the software. But what I mean is, if you change the software, your outcomes will change, like inevitably. You know? So understand that. If you're not getting the effects you want, become aware of your brain, of your automatic systems, please, and change them. How do you change them? You decide. I mean, thoughts are not real or fake. Thoughts just are. So if you believe you are undisciplined, you are reinforcing a neuronal pathway that conditions your behavior. But you're not disciplined or undisciplined. You're just a consciousness. And you created an identity that helps you design actions rapidly so you don't spend high amounts of energy. So if you change that identity, your automatic actions will be great if you do it properly. So just decide who you are. Decide who you are. If you want to be a great artist, if you want to paint the best paintings, or you want to build the biggest business in the world, you want to help the biggest amount of people ever, then just decide. Decide you are that kind of person, and that you have the required skills, the kind of person that builds that need, like discipline, being like smart, or being creative, or consistent, whatever. You will figure that out, and you will decide who you are. Just decide. You don't need evidence. You have to understand this. This is like extremely important. You don't need evidence to be that kind of person. You don't need to make money. You don't need to be rich. You don't need new clothes. You don't need friends. You don't need a relationship. You don't need to move countries. You don't need to do anything. Just make a choice. Make the choice of being who you are and embody that ideal person that you always wanted to be. Because let me tell you something. The ideal person will not come when you get the effects. The effects will come when you embody the ideal person that you always wanted to be. So please, stay aware and keep working on this. Think about this a little bit, and hopefully you internalize this information and you can change your life. So I hope it helped, Thanks for watching. Bye.